Hello and welcome to 6 Comedy Minute. Hi. Oh, today was a rough day for me. I broke up with my girlfriend today. And you know what she told me? She said, "You'll never find someone like me." And I said, "That's the point." Okay, all right. Another thing, I don't trust stairs. You know why? They're always up to something. All right. You didn't like that one. All right. Did you hear the one about Helen Keller? Okay. Helen Keller walks into a bar, and then a chair, and then a table. All right. Why did the man get hit by a bicycle every day? He was stuck in a vicious cycle. Okay. All right, this is the last one. This is it. This is the funny one. Why did the mushroom go to the party? 'Cause he's a fun guy. Hey, I'll be here all week. Except Sundays, I have to do my laundry and walk the dog. But yeah.
Hello, welcome to 6 Train Therapy. I'm DJ Mayday.
And I'm Professor S, your psychotherapist to the stars.
Yes, and today...
Yeah, what are we talking about today?
We're going to be talking about jokes today.
Oh.
Jokes.
Jokes.
Right, jokes, like...
As opposed to YOLKS, yokes.
Oh, God.
I know, right?
You're just a plethora of information
Plethora. Today. How do you spell plethora? Okay, then, let's move on.
Never would be able to do that. There was no point in my life I would be able to spell plethora. But we're going to be talking about jokes. And is there anything any such thing as a harmless joke, right? People say it all the time, harmless joke. So just to frame the topic.
Frame. That's what he does.
Right. Mm-hmm. We're gonna just go through the definition of a joke and see how that ties into what we think a joke is.
And where's this definition coming from?
This definition is coming from a free dictionary on the internet.
Okay.
But it's the same. I looked up Webster and I also looked up Google, and it's literally the same information.
Okay,
I was looking for more.
Cross-reference your sources.
Absolutely.
All right.
A joke is something said or done to invoke laughter or amusement, especially an amusing story with a punchline. 2, a mischievous trick, a prank, played a joke on his roommate. Number 3, something that is of ludicrous or poor quality. Interesting.
That sounds like me some days.
Yeah, that's how I feel right now. but it's very loose. It really just talks about the amusing and laughing part of what a joke is, which I guess we all definitely all can relate to. But
in this time, during these particular times, that whole piece right there is very loaded. It's like when we're talking about cancel culture, that's the nice version of a joke,
right?
But then with cancel culture, it becomes more perverted.
Well, I've been thinking about this topic for a while, but I was kind of struck by how little information they have on the mechanics of like what a joke is. Like I didn't find anything on that. I tried looking up stuff like that. I'm sure there's stuff out there, but just in the time that I had to kind of look up a joke, I wanted to understand the mechanics, because the way I see the way I see a joke, it's kind of like it has a shock element to it, right? And it has like a personal element to it, right? It has all these.
So you're looking at it like, okay, the beginning, middle, and end, and what are the key components to the joke?
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan of like a lot of comedians. I like,
Who are you a fan of?
Andrew Schulz. Andrew Santino on the West Coast.
Okay, don't
like
know him.
Bobby Lee. I don't know if you know him.
The Korean, yeah.
Hilarious. These are hilarious people, and I love just listening to just them lament, and they are funny. Yeah. But there are moments, like even with Andrew Schulz. I actually met him. I'm just
you told me. I remember.
There are moments where as funny as he is, and as funny as I think he is, and a lot of respect I have for him, there are moments that I feel like that he crosses a kind of a line.
Oh yeah,
a line where he's crass.
Well, that's where cancel culture comes in too. Like that line has changed or is changing.
Right.
Because I mean, I went to a comedy show where the comedian was someone that was in the news like 6 months prior, where somebody threw something at her on stage. I don't know if you remember that person.
A female comedian?
And a female comedian.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
And I mean, you know, who does that? But that's what's been happening over the last
right. People are retaliating
years.
when they feel offended, and they kind of go after them. But like, my whole thing was like, what is the mechanics of a joke? Like, even when, like, as kids, you know, when we're like snapping on each other in school, my brothers or whatever, we always get a little personal, right? Right, to kind of draw from your misfortune to kind of make a funny joke. So there's an element to jokes that are like that. They draw from misfortune, right? Like, I can say a 9/11 joke now, right? You know,
no, well, can you?
I can now, but more so than I could 15 years ago.
Yes,
you know, that's might get some laughter, or George Floyd joke might not fly so well right now.
Yeah, but I think not. Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying about 9/11 if it was back then, but it still has a kind of heaviness now. But Pete Davidson, one of my favorite comedians from SNL, he jokes about 9/11, and his father died in 9/11, and he was a fireman.
But
so when Pete puts it together, I mean, it's like, you know, but then the way he puts it out, it's like he's really putting a level of humor in that you would never believe.
Well, I think
that you could do that.
I think he's one of the rare comedians who has like kind of license to anybody who could joke about that. He would probably be one of the few, especially back then a couple of years ago, that could actually like rip into 9/11 because he's lost his, you know, he can say it's like you know, only black people should say the N-word. No one else is allowed to say it. You know, it's like an unspoken rule, I guess. He has license, so to speak.
Okay. But he dances a line with that though.
Yeah, he definitely
does. Because a lot of people, I mean, we still do the, what is it called? The tunnel to towers run.
Yeah.
Right? There's still people raising money for the 9/11 victims.
Absolutely.
It's still very, you know.
It's still a thing.
Yeah, but I understand what you're saying.
So like a George Floyd joke would probably get, you know, I mean, I can't imagine a joke.
I was about to say, I don't know where the end would be to get a Floyd joke. I'm sure somebody has tried to do it. In doing the research,
I've seen them.
Okay.
Okay. But my point is just that would hit, that still would touch a very open wound.
Yes.
Unlike the 9/11 thing.
Yeah.
So my whole thing was that, like, in looking at the jokes, is there's a formula, right? There's a little bit of, it has to be, 9 times out of 10 it's at someone's expense. You know what I mean?
And sometimes it's at the comedian's expense, which is what I like about, you know, Pete Davidson, Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, Trevor Noah. I mean, they make social commentary,
right?
But almost any good comedian throws themselves under the bus at some point in their stand up. They will throw themselves under the bus just as much.
Right. That's true. I'm processing that right now.
Yeah,
you're right. You're
quick.
absolutely
process quick. That was easy for me to process.
That wasn't easy for me to process.
That's okay. We all have our limitations. But thinking of Korean comedians, Margaret Cho. You know Margaret Cho?
Yeah, I'm familiar.
She's not out there as much these days, but she's really good, and she kind of rips into her mother. She does like her mother's jokes and the things that the mother would say to her, and how Koreans look at comedy, like, why are you doing that?
Right.
You know what I mean? It's more about,
it's not a job. It's not a real job.
Right.
But I listen to like Andrew Santini and Bobby Lee. They go at it. I could almost see where Andrew crosses the line a little bit with Bobby, because you could see him react in a negative way. But he's a comedian and he's a professional, so he kind of just rolls over it. I can definitely see it.
But
it bothers him. That
but they have tough skin though. They know that the other person is going to rip into them in some kind of way.
Right.
Well, and the way they do it, it is kind of ouch when you see it.
Yeah.
I get an ouch, and it's not even directed at me.
Right.
Yeah.
Like when he's doing like the Asian voices and crossing his eyes. I mean, that's wild. That's it's disrespectful, because it harkens back to, you know, like how Asians
is a stereotypical
right
thing like that. And some of those jokes, though, whether it's of whatever ethnic group, the thing about jokes too is that there's always some element of truth, which is what makes people kind of squirm. So it depends. It's a very fine line, I mean, Dave Chappelle is another one.
He plays with fire. I love him.
But I think the other thing I like about a good comedian is when their jokes are not only at themselves, their own expense, but it's some type of social commentary.
Right.
It's kind of mixed in there, and it's kind of about the human condition in some kind of way.
Right. And he's like a scholar now. He's like he's telling all these jokes for like 45 minutes, and then he gives like this tie-in lesson at the end that's crazy. And you're like, damn. He just schooled everyone, and it's gonna reverberate. So like I have a great appreciation for comedians, but again, like that element, what are the elements to the joke? The other aspect of it's at someone's expense, and it has like a how do you say it? It depends on the audience, right?
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know how comedians work. I'm not a comedian, and we just I love to watch them, and they're hilarious. But they do a magic on stage. But how do they judge an audience, and how do they figure out, all right, this is an okay joke to tell here? Like I wouldn't know how to like.
Well, it's so interesting you said that. Like, Andrew Schulz, I've seen him do a show in Russia.
Right, which is crazy.
And they I mean, I don't even understand how all these folks are laughing because they're picking up on whatever references, and a lot of times he's making fun of them.
Right.
And their culture. You know what I mean?
Right, but is that element of good judgment on what will fly with this group or what will fly in general by comedians I guess that's where the magic is.
Well, he definitely studies.
Yeah, for sure.
He definitely studies.
For sure, but he's not scared to just cross that line.
Right.
Schulz is nuts. He'll just run over to that line and like hit you in the face with a pie. You know what I mean? Like
we'll encourage you to look at Andrew Schulz. Do you think we could put some links to some of these comedians?
Oh yeah, for sure.
In our thing. I was also thinking of when I was doing the list of the folks I find funny, was also some of the women, because I was thinking of men and I was like, but wait, there's tons of excellent female comedians, and the couple that came to my mind was besides Margaret Cho was Wanda Sykes.
Oh my God.
And Lisa Lampanelli. You don't hear about her too much these days. You know Lisa Lampanelli?
No, I don't think I'm familiar.
Well, you better get familiar, bro.
I bet.
Listen, you should have done your homework for this thing. Anyway, so Lisa.
Calling me out. I don't call you out when you don't do your homework.
But you can do.
I could, but I wouldn't.
But you would, because you'll say it with a humor, like a joke.
Oh.
So anyway,
that's what toxic people do.
Right. So Lisa Lampanelli, you don't see her so much these days, but they used to call her the Queen of Mean, because she would make these almost like mean jokes at ethnic groups of women, men, and everything. And she would be someone who, if she was doing those jokes now, she would be canceled. And she's no longer out there anymore. And it's so interesting that she was saying that she left. She did comedy for about 28 years, and she said those were great 28 years. And then she just decided after a while to not do that. She focused more. She lost a whole lot of weight. She was a plus size woman, and she went down to this really slender person. And then she had like these spiritual revelations, and now she's a life coach, and she does more spiritual work. So she just, and the interviewer said, do you think it's because of cancel culture? She said, well, I didn't even know what that was. And when I left, it became like this thing.
Well, maybe she grew out of it. You know what I mean?
Well, but that's the point. She got to, her evolution had nothing to do with cancel culture. You know what I mean? It was her own journey that took her out of that. But she's really, really funny. And the other one is Flame Monroe. Now she's transgender.
Right.
She's transgender, but
she's
really,
too much, bro. She sucks the air out of a room, bro.
Yes.
Like I can't even she's just too big.
She's a big woman, but she balances.
No, not size wise.
No. But she's big personality. But she's also a big person. But she is someone who, she really plays or balances her maleness with her feminine side.
Right.
Like she'll get into it with anybody. She'll throw down.
You can't disrespect her.
Right.
But that's a whole other thing.
Right. I mean, we can really go in another place because she knows that she's not a woman.
Right.
Like she's like, I'm not a woman. I'm a man that entertains with women's clothes. She gives actually. How does he say it? Flame is the one that makes the paycheck. And I forgot what his actual name is, and this is the one that spends it.
Okay.
So the performer makes it, and the other guy spends it. I think he's got 3 kids.
Yeah.
Spends it.
Yeah.
So it's very clear for him.
But
Yes.
like it's always like for me, it's like always like, you know, I always try to think on the why and the what. I don't know. It's the way my brain works. I need to understand. So like always with the jokes, I try to see the mechanics and see the good and the positive. And it was always like, is there anything such thing as a harmless joke? And I'm starting to think that there really isn't. But it really truly depends on who you're telling that joke to.
Yes. What is the intent?
Right. What is
the intent
exactly.
Joke,
What's
right?
the intent of the joke?
Right.
So like that's hard to do, and it's hard to do in a crowd. I give it to these comics that they.
Well, that's why they call it an art form.
Yeah, for sure.
It's an art form. It's a feeling. It's a style. It's how do you read. It's almost like looking at comedy as looking at colors in doing a painting. You have a unique set of colors to your art. No one will do an art piece like you. Do you know what I mean?
That's true. Unique.
So it kind of has that vibe to it to me. But while you're focusing on mechanics, right? You know, I'm the psychotherapist here, so I'm thinking of the mind.
Yes, sir.
So
break it down.
Break
it down. Professor S.
It's obviously right. A mood elevator, right? So people that tend to feel depression when they go to, let's say, a stand-up or they see something funny, it elevates the mood, including for anxiety. And it kind of, one article said it's the immune system for the mind. So it keeps your body, the immune system is what keeps your body healthy. So laughter is what keeps your body healthy as well.
I like that. I like that. Immune system for the mind. That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm just looking at some of my notes. Northwestern University did a study on the connection between laughter and comedy with increase in creativity and productivity. So, folks are trying to study this stuff, and it's very interesting. I just want to read something else too. So they say that this is Northwestern University. I'm just reading this. That the laughter lights up the anterior cingulate cortex of the brain, and that is associated with attention and decision making. So folks that tend to laugh a lot is lighting up that part of the brain. The comedy does that. So, there's a biochemical piece to also the joke and laughter. So, you're saying from the mechanical point of view, what is a joke? How do you do a joke? When is the right joke? But then also how laughter, as a result of jokes or as a result of humor, how does that, boost chemicals in your
right.
Your
and
brain
it's all part of like that storytelling kind of sharing human experience and like Andrew Schulz started talking about this, and at first I was like, look at this guy getting all philosophical on his BS, but whatever. But then I started thinking about what he said, and I was like, he's right. It is a kind of around the fire, primitive kind of sharing of a story that we all kind of participate a little bit in, and it's like, wow, all right. I was definitely starting to pick up on that, and I thought that was a great analogy for what being a comedian is, and your audience. It's literally us sharing again, as human beings. So.
Right, and in a safe way. That's why I think these days when people are like calling people out and throwing stuff at them and so on, it's now become something of a. It's not as safe. Right. But it's interesting, like don't mean to repeat myself, but folks like Trevor Noah. Actually, he's on tour now. Now that his show is,
I heard
he's on tour. And Dave Chappelle and Bill Burr, they go there, but they're not being attacked.
Right.
So I think people can feel that it's not mean-spirited, but it is social commentary. One of the things that's really funny, just to say a specific thing about Bill Burr. Bill Burr's wife is African American, and he talks about when they were dating, and she lived in Harlem. You know what I mean? And him going north and watching less and less white people as he moved uptown, and he's grasping his shirt because he's losing his breath. Like, where are the white people? And so and it's funny. But there's an element of truth about it, right?
Yes.
In terms of like feeling like when there are people that don't look like me, that are becoming less and less, some people feel a little anxious. I mean, either way, black to white, but either way.
Yeah, but it goes back to that mechanic. Like somebody needs to kind of hurt from that. And someone needs to hurt from a good joke, and he's hurting from that joke, and he's just expressing that with people. So that's the element that, like,
well, that's the fine line that comedians do.
Right, that's the fine line. Yeah. That's the fine line, and I think that walking of it is where the art form and the mastery that a lot of comedians have.
Absolutely,
balancing that. That absolutely. I'm about to offend you, but here I'm gonna teach you a lesson.
Well,
like,
even Wanda Sykes, I'm just remembering.
Wanda Sykes,
she said Wanda Sykes is lesbian, and she talks about her wife and 2 kids, I think they have, and they speak French. The wife is French, and how like sometimes the kids will go into French talking about her, and she's like, "Well, what are they talking about? What are they doing?" And sometimes she says, "I'm not their maid. Don't get it twisted." You know what I mean? But the way she says it is absolutely humorous, and also it speaks to having an interracial relationship as well. So it's like it
speaks on a lot of her insecurities and fears of being left out, but also like being African American, right? And then
and she can go there on that subject, on those subjects too.
Oh,
she's never she's tied on so many things. So
what I started seeing a lot of when I watch a lot of like white comics and podcasters, they're kind of using the N-word without saying the N-word. They'll talk and they'll be like, whether they're talking about someone else or something, they'll literally fill it in with, "Oh, hey, get over here, N-word." And I'm like, does that have an effect or not? Right? Is that legit or not? Are they dancing a fine line or not?
Good point.
I don't know. Does somebody get mad about that? The way they just literally say the same thing but substitute it with N-word.
Yeah, I've never really seen that. But hey, comedy also evolves.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's things that, but actually sometimes they roll back, because I watched what's his name? Oh my God. Oh Jesus. Can't remember his name, but he was very big in the 50s. And oh my God, it doesn't matter now. I hope you can edit this madness.
No, don't worry about it. Go ahead.
But Rodney Dangerfield is another great
comedian.
God.
Take my wife, please.
Rodney Dangerfield, his entire stand-up is about him and how fucked up he is.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
even when he's making fun of somebody else, he's really making fun of himself.
And that's just an amazing
point of
that's
view.
Another point of view, an art form. Yeah.
You know what I was watching too, which was kind of crazy. You ever seen those old comedy roasts, those Dean Martin comedy roasts?
Yeah. Absolutely. Those are outrageous.
Were brutal as fuck.
Yeah.
And
yep.
And they
and Lisa Lampanelli, she was part of those roasts, like not from back then, but when they had the roasts like early 2000s, they always had Lisa Lampanelli or what's the woman that Trump went after with the red hair?
Oh, I know who you're talking about, who did the whole thing, cut off his head and kind of thing.
Yeah. So she was another one.
I don't know how those roasts aren't more popular. I feel like they would be.
I think they're so
fucking hilarious. Like they've roasted Shaquille O'Neal, Justin Bieber. Everybody's gotten it.
But if you notice, they're not happening these days.
Yeah, I wonder. It's like
because of cancel culture.
You think so?
I think so. Hell yeah.
Wow.
That's my take.
Right.
People are just more sensitive.
I mean, is cancel culture that strong? I mean, who has it really canceled besides
It canceled. What's her name? The one whose name I was trying to remember. Oh, Kathy Griffin.
Yeah. I mean, she was
someone I used to enjoy also. But when after Trump went after her, like she
got in trouble with the law. Yeah. You can't threaten a president and it'd be okay.
Well, I get that. And she did push the line, but even she has pulled back from even the apology that she made. She's like, I'm not apologizing about that. And she was another one that was very edgy.
Yeah, she was definitely pushing the line.
Yeah. So, I mean, oh my goodness, Archie Bunker. That show was hilarious in the 70s.
But again, you could say shit like that then.
Well, you do it now, and you're gonna be canceled.
I feel like we're unevolved. Like,
we're devolving. We're going backwards.
Yeah, like we're just going backwards.
We're going backwards, and it's just
how do we not grow from Archie Bunker and the Jeffersons and how are we like? How is it that we can't say what they said 50 years ago? You know what I mean?
I
So
know.
it's just weird.
It's very, you know, I wish I could speak more on it in a, I guess, a professional way on why this is and why that is.
Well, that's a whole social thing.
Yeah, that's true. We don't want to go down that road, right?
I'm not trying to do all that.
Right.
But
laughter is good for the soul.
right. We established that in our 2 episodes ago in the Joy episode. So if you want to check that out.
So check that out. Absolutely. And you know what? Jokes is also depending on your audience. Because you imagine, you know, there's some black comedians that, let's say, well, not just black, but I mean, sometimes you have to know, like if you go into a black Christian, you're doing a black Christian humor, it's not going to be the same as if you went to a general audience. You'd have to change some of your delivery and subject matter because you have to kind of gear it to who you're and depending on also the variety of your crowd, you know, sometimes you have to adjust to the crowd.
Well, I've heard comedians, you know, in conversation and podcasts, they talk about how, like, you know, before they go on stage, they're like, hey, what's the supermarket around here? What's the movie theater around here?
Right.
So they can, instead of like saying like the Pathmark, they could say the Publix or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Like they already know I got to make it so they can associate.
Right. Which is part of the art form.
Yeah. So I got a lot of respect for comedians, man. They hang it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like you got to have a certain level of courage
and thick skin.
Yeah, to go out there because a full-on bomb, I don't know if I could emotionally handle that.
A full-on bomb meaning?
Like meaning you get on stage and you tell jokes and they fucking boo you off that bitch. Yeah. That shit might crush me.
Right. and every comedian has to go through that
phase. They got to go through that fire to not want to feel that fire again. So
and also not getting paid. A lot of early years, these folks, when you listen to comedians' journey, they're not a whole bunch of living hand to mouth.
Yeah. So to get money, you got to get better. Yeah. So take us out, Professor.
Maybe you should be zone out because I'm talking to you, not like we're on camera.
We are.
So okay. So you said okay. So how you want me to take this out?
No, you take it out, sir. I will edit it where you start.
This is our episode on jokes. We were exploring the mechanics. We're looking at the biomechanics of it, and we looked at how it shows up and makes us feel better. So we want to thank you for joining us at 6 Train Therapy.
Like, comment, and subscribe.
Right.
This is 6 Train Therapy. I'm DJ Mayday.
And I'm Professor S, your psychotherapy to the stars. Have a good one.
Peace.
Bye.